Good morning, simulation farmers, my sweet angel babies. Welcome back to the episode of To Be Real. I'm your host, Charm. Welcome. Today we are talking about, drum roll, taking back your personal power. I know we talk about it literally in every single episode ever, but I'm telling you, that is at the root of every single thing that you will ever encounter, good or bad. In what way have you given your power away? In what way can you reclaim your power? Are you being conscious of the times that you give your power to things that are good, that you are excited about, that give you the things that you do want? Like, are you aware that these things are powerful and, can create some sort of change in your life because you're giving it your power? And so, yes, we will be going into reclaiming your personal power, but specifically reclaiming your personal spiritual power, tuning back into it, understanding the different types of powers that you hold and the things that you can do to really strengthen your intuition and your connection to source to be able to experience the kind of spiritual power that we see a lot of other people, specifically on social media, show that we really admire and sometimes idolize. And so we will be talking all about your spiritual power in this episode. And with that being said, let's get right into the episode. Okay, so the very first thing that you need to know, and I mean this very, very, very literally, the answers are not outside of you. They are not in all of the books you read. They are not in all of these spiritual people that you follow, all of the gurus. They're not there. They are inside of you. And I'm not saying that, the works that people have put out there are not helpful. The books, the blogs, the, spiritual messages, the, TikToks and the YouTube videos, the podcasts. I'm not saying that because these people are inspired to give you messages and to, provide different information to the masses. However, it's so important to realize and understand that even the things that they provide you with are not things that you do not have personal access to. A lot of times we are so unaware of our power and our ability to connect with source in the same way that these people connect with source, or, clear their channel in order to be able to receive this information, that it kind of seems like we can only get this information from these other people. However, two things. You would not be able to receive this message from those other people unless you were ready and unless you were already in the vibration of receiving it and therefore literally ready to receive this message. Even if you heard the message, even if you read the book, it would go in one ear and out the other. It wouldn't, be settled into your spirit. Maybe the seed would be planted, but in terms of it being transformational and like truly clicking for you, when things just fucking click, even if you've known about it for years or you've read the book so many times, there's something that just finally clicks. That is you being in alignment and resonating with this information, with this knowledge. And so now it's something that can permeate into your being, into your subconscious, something that you can live out and express. So that's one thing. No one can give you a message that you are not ready to receive. So already in that way, it's about you. It's about your power. You are the center of your own universe. These other people are giving you these wonderful messages that are, for the collective that they feel inspired to share. However, that message will never reach you. And I'm not saying they won't physically reach you. I'm saying they won't reach your spirit until you have called it in. When you're ready to change something in your life, when you're ready to transform, when you feel yourself asking these questions, all of a sudden you start attracting these different people. All of a sudden you stumble on this specific podcast. All of a sudden you hear about this book and you're just weirdly, randomly interested, or something happens and this information finds you. That is you being in alignment with that energy and calling it into you. And the wonderful thing about this information is that even if it feels very new at the beginning, the reason why it resonates so deeply and the things that I have recognized as truths are the things that feel like a remembering. It's new information to my conscious mind, and yet for my subconscious, for my spirit, it's this sense of remembering. It's this sense of, yes, I knew that information, but I was asleep to it. It was hidden in the shadows. However, now that I'm bringing light to it, it's like, yes, this information was already mine. It was already in my spirit. If it weren't, you would not have aligned with it. You would not have resonated with it. Anything that you are aware of is something that resonates within your spirit because it is inside of you already. And so the answers are not outside of you. However, the more that you rely on other people to be your guides on your personal spiritual journey, the less you are able to receive these messages that are coming to you, or even when they come to you, you second guess them and you wait for somebody in the external to affirm these messages to you. You have to get to a place where that knowing that you feel within you is enough. And I've struggled with this as well. Like, I know these things, they feel so true, and I know them like I know them that I know them. However, I don't allow myself to accept them until I see somebody else talk about it, until I read something else about it, until I talk to somebody that, that has these spiritual abilities and that is more open and receptive to their connection to source to approve or affirm these messages to me. And I have had to get to a place where I decide for myself, power without permission. I can know like I know that I know, and I don't need anybody else to affirm that message, that download that I received, for me to believe it and for me to trust it and for me to act on it. And so that's really what this episode is about, building that trust, the things that you can do to open up your channel, the things that you can do to become more receptive to the messages in terms of believing them when you receive them, even though you may not feel like, you're this guru or this spiritual guide and you don't have this huge platform. It's about recognizing and understanding that your connection with source is individual, and source is the only being in this universe that fully understands and walks this journey with you. There is no message that anybody can give you that will be fully received to you or by anybody in the exact same way that they meant it, in the exact same way that they experienced it and are trying to convey through language. Per usual, we will be mentioning Brianna Weiss' 101 essays that will change the way you think. And it's mainly because she mentioned a quote recently that I was like, oh my God, that is so beautiful. It's like painfully beautiful. And I want to share it with you guys. So she writes, as Huxley again once said, in spite of language, in spite of intelligence and intuition and sympathy, one can never really communicate anything to anybody. The essential substance of every thought and feeling remains incommunicable, locked up in the impenetrable strong room of the individual soul and body. Our life is a sentence of perpetual solitary confinement. First of all, that is so beautifully written, but it's so true, and it expresses something that we forget so often. We are all dying to be understood. Like, that was my greatest wish as a child. I just wanted to feel understood. And yet this idea that someone could ever truly understand you is a myth. And so to go through life trying to be understood, trying to get people to understand your intention, trying to get people to know where you're coming from or why you are the way you are, or why you react, or anything. It's impossible. The only being that will ever fully, truly understand you, honestly, is source, because even though you may know everything about yourself, you may not be able to understand it because we never have complete, full awareness and access to everything in our mind, like our subconscious things, like they're subconscious for a reason. Only source itself that is omniscient, that is all knowing, and that is omnipresent, forever present, and unbound by time, fully has this true understanding of everything that you are, every thought that you have, where it comes from, who you were, and what you thought before you had language to describe anything, before you learned how to talk. And so in the same way that no one can fully express to you the exact thing that they are trying to convey, you can never understand exactly what they are trying to convey. That is their message that is individually tailored from source to them. The way that things will reach you and the way that you will absorb these things will be filtered through your personal lens. And so even while we glorify or put on a pedestal, pedestalize, question mark, if that's a word, these people that, we view to be as personal guides or spiritual guides or somehow anointed by source, even the messages that you believe are conveyed externally, they're not. They are conveyed to yourself internally by your own translation system. And so even when you view it from that perspective, you understand that the answers are still within you. There are things that maybe trigger this and, provide you with the material. However, how you transform it is 100% within you, between you and source. In no way am I saying that the messages that you receive externally are not incredibly valid and inspired by source. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that when you fully rely on these people to bring you these messages and you externalize your power in the sense of believing that these messages are only receiving you because of that, you're externalizing your power. If those people were not acting on their calling, that information would find another way to find you. It's not dependent on a single person. It's not dependent on a single book. Everything already exists. And when you are ready, when you are vibrating at its frequency, it will find a way to materialize to you, whether it's through the external or whether it's simply downloaded to you from source. And that's what I want to move into next, channeling and downloading information directly from source. When we allow other people to spoon feed us and we externalize our power in terms of they are spiritually anointed and that's why they have been given this message and that's the only way that I could receive this message, you close yourself off from this well of information, from the eternal knowledge that source is ever flowing to you that these other people are accessing. That information is not limited to them. That information is available to everybody. However, they have cleared their channel enough. They have built that strong connection and built that strong sense of trust within the messages that they received and have acted on it enough, engaged and interacted with that information enough to the point where they do receive more. And the key word is receive. They have allowed themselves to receive what is already being provided and offered. When you don't practice receiving, one, you're unaware that this information is coming to you. You might act on it in an unconscious way. Like sometimes you just know something and then you act on it and maybe it works out or whatever. However, you don't view it as something that is quite literally being downloaded to you from source. And so you don't use it as often. You don't go out with the intention of receiving more. You don't seek out that information. You just kind of take it as like, a one-off thing that happens every once in a while, but that's not what it is. That is source literally speaking to you and like poking you, nudging you and being like, hey, like this information came from somewhere. You didn't just know something. That is a power that you have that you can tap into and strengthen. And that is why you have these other people that are at the forefront of spirituality, that serve as, teachers and that inspire you to learn different things. It's because they are in tune in a way because they have worked on, first of all, acknowledging that that information is there for them to receive, and then working on receiving that information willingly, intentionally. My subconscious mind has been waging war on me recently, and I didn't record for, I think, 5 days in a row after recording several videos a day effortlessly. And I had all of these fears come up that had to do with not having things to record, like literally not having episodes planned to record that I felt capable of recording, this being one of those. And two, not having the ability to sit down and record and have things come out naturally. Both of which, when I really sat down and asked myself, is this even true? The answer was absolutely not. I literally already had the episode prepped for this and the next episode. And so this idea that I didn't know what to talk about was an actual blatant lie. Everything that I wanted to talk about was already there. And so, I talked to my subconscious about it and that's what was coming up at the surface. And I was like, you literally know that's not true. It's something else. However, I say all that to say that this idea that I was like, oh, I won't know what to say. I won't have inspiration for new episodes. Like, what if that was it? What if, the last 15 episodes that I made is all that I will ever receive? Like, I will never, have another episode to record. I dismantled that so quickly because I'm so aware of the fact that the knowledge is ever flowing. It's just a matter of me getting back into alignment into it. It's not about me looking for it and, racking my brain and thinking and researching. It's not about that. It's me literally getting into alignment and being open to receive what is naturally ever flowing. There is nothing new under the sun. Literally nothing new. Nothing that I'm saying is new information. I might be expressing it in a different way because it's, one, the language that I have in order to express it. And two, it's based off of my personal experience. And that's just how it's going to come out. All the things that I've downloaded, even processes that I have downloaded, I've later, very quickly actually, in the next 2 weeks, found information that from decades ago that affirms it. This is not new information. I simply got into alignment to be able to receive that from source. I didn't read those books first. I didn't, watch those videos first. They were already there. However, I reached a place of alignment that allowed me to download information from the infinite cloud of information. And once I was in resonance with it, of course, I was going to attract other videos that affirmed it, other books that had been written in the 1900s, early 1900s or 1800s by, the first person to ever explore spirituality type thing. Of course, I'm going to align with that. And so that was something that I kept having to repeat to myself because my subconscious mind was really just really pushing hard on these lies. It was you're not going to be able to record anymore. You're not going to have the words. The well of ideas that you have will be gone. And that's something else, this idea that you are the one coming up with this information needs to be dismantled. One, because it gives you the freedom to not feel that pressure of the limitations that you are aware that you have. And it gives you that sense of ease, peace of mind, knowing that this information is already out there. It's ever flowing. There's no stopping it. It can't stop. It's part of the eternal. It comes from source who always has, always is, and always will be. That's the definition of eternal, and it's infinite. It never stops. And so when you allow your human self to pair up with the divine, then you are just a vessel to something that is ever flowing. And so we've covered a couple of things. The answers are not outside of you. Everything that you receive, even if it seems to come from the external, is still being filtered in a way that makes it you, makes it come from you to you. 3, recognizing that this is an actual power and capacity that you have rather than, just something that happens every once in a while, being aware of the fact that this is your power. And 4, understanding that you are meant to work in tandem with the infinite source in order to channel this information, in order to receive this information, and then either just apply it to your life or share it with others. And so that's where the concept of channeling comes in. If you're into spirituality, you probably are familiar with Abraham Hicks and Bashar. They're probably the most popular channels that we have, and they have a very specific way of channeling in terms of, actually Bashar closes his eyes and, allows the being, the non-physical being to speak through him. And Abraham Hicks, who is actually Esther Hicks, she, walks around with her eyes open and stuff. But again, her way of speaking changes and she's channeling an energy in non-physical. And so when we look at these channels, we have a very, specific view of what channeling is supposed to look like, quote unquote, supposed to look like. And so we kind of externalize our power or limit our knowledge and awareness of our power by thinking that unless we look like them when we are channeling information, then it's not actually channeling, that it has to look like that for it to be channeling. But what I'm here to tell you is that everybody is a channel. The idea that you are a vessel that is meant to download things from source, that is meant to receive things from source, and then have them, pass through you, filter through you into the world, makes you a channel, a conduct. But until you are willing to accept your form of channeling as valid, as real as the people that their entire, way of being changes when they are channeling. When you are able to accept that your way of expressing and channeling source is your own and will always be your own and equally as valid, then again, you will never be consciously aware of when you have downloaded information and when you are channeling information. And so you'll never view yourself as a channel. And so you won't take the steps to to clear out the blockages from your channel, from your receptors. You are a receptor of source, of anything really. You're a receptor of any energy and frequency that is out there. It's about you tuning into the frequency of that, the same way that you tune into something through the radio station. It's about you clearing that channel in order to have a clearer flow. But again, until you do so, you won't reclaim your power in terms of using that consciously, intentionally using that spiritual power that you have that is inherent, that's built into you. And so let's talk a little bit about how to clear that channel, how to clear your mind in order to receive these things. I told you guys about the book that I wrote, The Rebrand, that I really set the intention. I set my heart on writing in tandem with source. I wanted to channel a message, and it felt and looked so different from what I expected. I knew that I was channeling the information, but I thought that if I channeled something into the form of a book, I would just write for hours on end. And then it was I would come back to and be like, oh my gosh, who wrote that through me? I was not aware of the fact that I was even writing. That's what I thought it was going to feel like. And it was very much not like that. One, I was very conscious and present through the entire writing of that book. I did have to put in the hours and the manpower to write that book. However, the information that came to me as a form of just knowing, that's what I knew was being channeled. It was information that I wasn't consciously aware of. And then all of a sudden I would be writing and the words would just come to me. And there was an aspect of me that was kind of in awe as I was writing it, just being oh wow, that makes so much sense. And I was aware of the information while also expressing the information for the very first time. But it was never this crazy, highly emotional moment. It was simply writing. It was simply coming through me. I wish I could fully explain how simple it was, how effortless it was, how not insanely out of this world that it felt. It felt so natural. Why? Because you are a channel. That's what you're created to do. That's, a natural capacity that you have. And so to channel doesn't feel like this otherworldly experience that is just the same as being on drugs. It's so natural. It's so effortless. It doesn't elicit this crazy sensation from you. It just feels natural. How do you explain what something natural feels like? It just feels natural. And of course, when you channel, it would feel different to you, but I'm assuming that it would also feel natural because that's just something that you can do. For example, when birds fly or when birds chirp or whatever, or sing a really high note or mimic other birds, I highly, 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 highly doubt and can bet my life on the fact that they're surprised by the sounds that come out of them or their ability to fly. It's just kind of natural. It's just a function that they have. And they are always in connection with that because that's what they do. That's a natural capacity that they have. And that's how I would describe channeling as. It's just this sense of ease and calm and knowing. And even while your hands are moving, even while your mouth is moving, this information is not something that you are having to conjure up. You're not having to think about the words that you're going to put together. And even when you are looking for the right word, it's the concept is natural to you. The concept is already there, and it's more so your human being is looking for your personal language in order to express what is coming to you, but it just is there. Sometimes the words flow effortlessly. Sometimes I have to pause and allow, my being to find the correct word. But it's like, I know that I can't just say anything because there's a very specific thing that I'm meant to convey. Even with the analogies that I receive, especially in the book that I wrote, they were analogies that were based off of visuals that I received in my mind. It was like the concept was being explained to me through these analogies. And so I would go in and, explain the analogy and explain the concept, like flesh it out through words. So it's not just like the imagery and you're trying to understand what I'm saying simply through an analogy. However, seeing the mechanic of these spiritual concepts through the imagery that I was receiving were also downloads. It was me channeling information. And when I went back and edited it, and I did edit several times, it was like the ideas would be fleshed out even more. It's like there was more coming and more coming. And it was like, oh my gosh, like when I go back and read it, I'm like, wow. That's kind of when I have this full sense of, I wrote this in tandem with source. Like I am aware of the things that I knew beforehand, and I'm aware of the things that were gifted to me and channeled through me as I wrote. And again, you have these same capacities. However, the very first step in order to clear your channel and channel messages and be a channel is to be aware that you already are a channel. Next, when you are aware that you are a channel, practice that. Be intentional about asking to receive messages. And when you do receive messages, that sense of just knowing the information is just there. Acknowledge that as you channeling information because you're already doing it. I guarantee you'll be able to look back and think back on things that you just received, that you just knew, that you just knew. You just knew. And then were proven correct or in some way reflected back to you and the information was affirmed or confirmed to you. You'll be able to look back and see that you've been doing this. And so when this does happen, affirming it in the moment and being like, wow, that was channeled information, labeling it as channeled so that you begin to recognize when it does happen more often. And when you recognize that it is something that happens and that you have been doing, it's almost like source is getting the green light to give you more because you're not just going to dismiss it as, this one-off thing that just happened. You're consciously experiencing and consciously accepting and being receptive to this information. Another aspect of it, and a very big aspect, and possibly the most difficult aspect, I would say, is trusting that information. Again, we have been so asleep to our power and we've externalized it into other people that seem to have just a different kind of connection with source, like an anointed, just they get that kind of information in other people that we really second guess our ability to receive the same kind of information, the same degree and level of information. And especially for me, because there was a moment when I saw Bashar and I saw Abraham Hicks, and it was like this immediate sense of, I want to be a channel. That is something that I want. And I know that if I want it, if I desire it, one, it's something that is already mine. There's a reality in which I truly am a channel. But the fact that I had that natural desire when I saw that was proof to me that it was something that was meant for me. Not everybody is going to look at Bashar and Abraham Hicks and be like, wow, that's something that I want to be able to do. They'll be happy with the fact that Bashar and Abraham Hicks show up and give them that information. Does that mean that they're not still channeling information? No, they still are. That's a natural mechanism that they have. But my desire to consciously channel and be a channel for myself and also for the masses, like this has been something that I've always wanted to do. I didn't know that this was a thing, like channeling information. I always thought that it was me reading books and me, listening to podcasts and me listening to lectures. I thought it was all me. But the concept and the idea that I could do this in tandem with source, that the ideas and the knowledge could come to me first, from source first, without having that intermediary being or book or work to feed it to me, to spoon feed it to me after having it been filtered by somebody else. That idea was not something that I had prior to my desire to be a channel. And again, I viewed their way of channeling as the only way to channel. And so when my form of channeling came differently, and when I looked back and I saw the channeled messages come differently, it was hard for me to trust that. And I would look for external validation, and it would always come. It would come by people that thought about it after me, or, published it after me, or people that had published it decades before me. And so even now I'm having, especially on the bigger aspects in terms of manifestation and stuff, I'm having to consciously trust, because I know that this stuff is true. However, for me to consciously accept, yes, I know, but I am going to choose to embrace this as a truth rather than just like a knowing that I have. And I'm going to act on it as if it were a truth rather than just like, keeping it to myself because I'm not sure, like maybe like I know that I know, but is it? And so trusting in the messages that you receive, trusting that you are a channel and that you channel messages from source, from the divine. And then the next two things kind of go hand in hand. It's learn to clear yourself of your own voice, allow there to be silence, as well as don't force it. It's already there. It's about you being open and knowing you are a part of the whole. And they go hand in hand because in order to allow things to just flow to you and flow through you, you cannot have your conscious mind be active and analyzing everything that comes to you. You can't have yourself questioning the information as it's coming. You just have to allow it to flow. And you can go back and see if it truly resonates with your spirit. However, judging it and questioning it and being unsure of it while the information is flowing is going to cut it off, because you are now introducing your ego. You are now introducing the limited and finite knowledge that your human mind, brain has the capacity of understanding and, knowing, and that is comparing it to all the knowledge that you already have and limited by the knowledge that you already have. When you introduce that, you block the flow, because the flow is called a flow for a reason. It's just flowing, it's pouring, it's, coming down on you or flowing from you within you. And so being in alignment with it also, or not even also, is kind of the equivalent of you not blocking it. When you're not blocking it, you receive it because it's always being flowed to you. And so when you introduce your ego, you are putting up blocks that prevent the flow from flowing to you in the most unrestricted way possible. The information is always there. It's always flowing. It's constantly present. The only way that you don't receive it is if you put up blocks. That's why even before knowing you're a channel, you're able to channel information. When you are open and receptive, the information just comes. It just flows. However, when you are trying to do this consciously just to become more familiar with what it feels like and just becoming accustomed to having it happen because you're seeking it intentionally, you have to allow the information to just flow without your ego being involved. And I would say for the most part, that comes easily because at least for me, it's hard for me to bring my conscious mind into me while I'm downloading information. Like it comes so quickly. Like sometimes I'll be trying to go to sleep and it's usually like 1 or 2 in the morning. And then I'm flooded with information, flooded. And I have to write it down because I know that if I don't, I will forget in the morning. I have to write. And then after 2 hours, I'm like, all right, I need to go to sleep. Like, please, like stop. It's so much. Once you allow it and you do something with the information, it just flows and flows. I'm unrestricted. I'm about to fall asleep. I'm at peace. I'm, not really thinking about anything, or I'm thinking about something that has to do with my podcast and thinking about things that I've learned that have to do spirituality. I'm aligning myself with that information, and then the information just flows like a downpour. Like I literally have to ask source to stop because I need to go to sleep and I could keep going. Like the information will just keep flowing. And again, even me asking it to stop is me reinserting my conscious mind into my brain to be like, all right, last one. Thank you. Like, thank you so much. But also last one, I'm actually very tired. And then the idea of doing this intentionally, I need to really clarify that when you do this intentionally, and I was conscious of the fact that I said it wrong a minute or two ago, and I was like, let me keep going, and I'll clarify. I said to seek this out intentionally. That is not worded properly. You are not seeking this information. You can set the intention and, give source the desire of like, hey, this is something that I would like to do. I would like to consciously receive this information. However, you are not seeking anything. Again, when you are seeking, you are going in with the mindset of, I do not already have it and I have to look for it. You're not in alignment with it. You're not in alignment to knowing. You're in alignment with not knowing and looking for the answer. There's nothing to seek. It is already there. And so when you are seeking, you're introducing your conscious mind into it and saying, what can I do? You're introducing your ego and saying, what can I do more in order to receive this? There's nothing more for you to do. It's about you releasing your ego, releasing your conscious mind, and allowing yourself to be a conduit and a channel for what is already flowing to you. It's not about what you can do. It's not about consciously seeking. It's about receiving. And then lastly, you have to act in some way, shape, or form on the inspiration. Whether it's your intuition and you just know that you need to, go down this alley rather than the other, or whether you're getting downloads of information, you must interact with this information in some way to let source know, okay, yes, I received the message. I see it and I'm consciously taking it as a message from source. For me, it's writing it down. I need to write it down, then I'll go back and review it and, read it consciously, because when I am writing it, because my conscious mind is not necessarily there per se, and I'm just allowing this to flow through me, I do have the desire to go back and read it with my conscious mind so I can be like, oh, wow, like absorb it as me rather than as the information flowing through me, if that makes sense. And so again, it's acting on that inspiration. I told you guys that when something is done, when I'm done downloading, it just feels complete. I know I don't have to look anymore. I know that I'm not like missing anything else. Even when I ask source, like, okay, like I need to stop, like, please, I need to go to sleep. A little bit more will come to complete the information that was started being given to me. And then I can stop. And so all of these things that I have received, all of that to say, you have to interact with this information. One, because if you don't, it will go away. Like these things are not meant to sit within you to die. They were gifted to you from source for a reason, because it wanted you to do something with this information, even if it's just to take it into account for yourself, to, inform you a little bit more about your personal path, or whether it's something that you genuinely need to share. This information has been gifted to you for a reason. And if you're not going to do anything with it, one, it'll be gifted to somebody else. It'll be passed on to somebody else, and it'll continue to be passed on until somebody acts on it. And two, it's not just going to stay in you forever. That's something that you need to do as a form of saying, I have received this message. It's almost like receiving a package and you having to sign off for it. Also, if you don't act on it, you literally have not received the message, because the message is always meant to be acted upon. And so if you don't act on it, it's literally it going in one ear and out the other. And so, yes, you have to interact with it in some sort of way. For me, I want to interact with it until it feels complete. For you, it might just be you write a note about it and then you think about it later, you ponder it later. Somehow, some way, you must interact with it. That is really the last step. So yes, my sweet angel babies, reclaim your power. Reclaim your power from the idea that there is some sort of information that is outside of you that can only come to you from somebody else, from another book, from, some sort of podcast. Let go of that idea. You are a channel. You were born a channel. That is a natural capacity that you have as a human being made in the image of the divine, as an extension of the divine. You should be able to channel information from something that you are an extension of. You are a channel. You need to be aware of that. You need to be willing and intentional about practicing that and placing yourself in the position to receive, knowing and accepting that that information is always ever presently flowing to you. Trust in your ability to channel. Trust in the fact that you are a channel. Trust that you are just as chosen and just as anointed by source as anybody else to channel information through you from it, from the being, from, I don't want to call it an it, but from beingness itself. Trust in what you receive and trust that you are a receptor as well. You are a channel as well. You are also equally as anointed. And again, finally, take action. Take inspired action. Receive the message. Sign off on it. Sign off on it and use it. Use it until it feels complete. Incorporate it into your way of being. Share it. Do whatever you feel is necessary to acknowledge that information and absorb that information. So yes, my sweet angel babies, my channels of the divine, and my wonderful simulation farmers, that is the episode for today. Reclaim your power in every way possible. It's all within you. It's always been within you. And it's not meant to be given out to anybody. You become everything that you are meant to become. You uncover everything that you already are when you reclaim your power. And so, yes, we will continue this eternal series of reclaiming your power because it comes up in everything. And obviously, the context in which it is portrayed or, comes to you, we'll go through those and the things that you can do and, the different perspectives that will help you. But at the core of it all will always be, how can you reclaim my power? Where have I externalized my power? How can I see that within me? How can I acknowledge that there's nothing outside of me because I am part of the whole? So yes, that is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned so much. And yeah, I will see you in my next episode. Love you. Bye.